When you open the Autodesk Inventor file geometricconstraints.idw, remember IDW stands for Inventor Drawing File, you will notice that it opens such as this. We will need to go in and edit the sketch in order to be able to make anything happen. If you click on anything in here, it won't let you do anything. If you come up to Sketch, which is the tab which would have your constraints, they're right here. You're going to notice that they're grayed out. In order to do anything with them, we're going to need to edit that sketch. So we're going to right click and we're going to say Edit Sketch. At that point, we're going to be using these constraints up here. We have some dimensions constraints that we can use later, but we're going to focus mainly on these. So if we look, we have, hover over the top of them, we have a coincident constraint, which means we're going to lock two things together. They're going to be coincident with each other. We have a collinear constraint, which means we're going to line two things up based upon their lines so that they're going to make one solid line across, or at least some continuous line out from where they are. If we're dealing with circles, we have a concentric constraint, which we can make two ellipses have the same center point. We have a fix constraint. If we don't want to use the coincident constraint, we can actually fix something to a certain point and get it to lock into another location. We can show the constraints from up here. We can also show constraints by right-clicking on the item and having them show up, which we'll look at in just a minute. We have parallel constraint if we want those to be parallel to each other, not necessarily just lined up with each other, but we just like for them to be parallel. We can use that. We have a perpendicular constraint, so put them 90 degrees to each other. We have horizontal constraints to just make a line horizontal or cross with the horizon across the page. Same thing with the vertical constraint. We can make them go directly up and down. We have tangent if we need a circle to be lined up against something. So let's go through a few of these and make use of our tools. So as it says up here, make perpendicular. So we're going to choose our make perpendicular tool. If you click on it first, allow you to click, and allow you to click two of them. Notice shows our constraints. If we want to cause those to disappear, we can right click, come down and click show constraints. Now they're turned off and they won't show up, but we would like to see them for this, just to see, to make sure that we've got everything on there that we'd like to have. So they're there. Okay, so our next one is we're going to make all three lines parallel to one another. So we want to come up to our parallel constraint. We're going to choose there. We're going to choose our next one, and we're going to choose our next one, and we're going to have to hit the parallel again. Choose and choose. So now all three of those are parallel to each other, and notice it's still showing our constraints as visible. Sometimes the abbreviations on circles can be a little difficult to understand what is going on. When we talk about circles, we're going to talk about the diameter of a circle. So this can be a diameter of 2 inches. If we were talking about something such as a rounded edge, then we typically call that an arc, and we deal with the radius of that arc rather than the full distance across. So on this one, dimension number 3 circle to 2 inches in diameter. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up going to our dimension. We're going to come down and we're going to go to our circle, and there's our line. Now sometimes that can get a little crazy whenever it makes it larger, and so sometimes this can get off in our other areas where we don't want it, and it's a little hard to move, but luckily we have it in the right spot there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make 1 and 2 tangent to number 3. So we're going to come up here to our tangent tool, and we're going to choose our main object we want them to be tangent to, and we're going to put that as tangent. So typically you choose the object you want to stay in place second. So we've made 1 and 2 tangent to 3. Apparently our numbers were not fixed with the center of our circle, so our number 2 stayed up there rather than going with our circle. It's okay. Make circle tangent to both lines. So we're going to have to do a couple of constraints here. So we're going to have to still use our tangent. We still have that. So we're going to take our line and pull our circle to it. And we're going to take our other line and we're going to pull our circle to it. So notice it did change things up. So you have to play with the order in which you do things. If you want things to stay where they're at, you need to make sure that you do those in the proper order. These are fixed, so using the fix tool, So we're going to go back to fix. So it says fix point C, make endpoints A and B coincident with point C. Now, there is C. I believe C was really supposed to be right over here, so that makes it a little bit odd when you're looking at this to understand. But we're going to go ahead and choose that. And we want to make the end of the line segments B, A and B be coincident to that. So we didn't want to fix them, the second part, we just wanted to make them coincident. So let's undo that. Let's go ahead and fix point C again. I've already got it fixed. Okay, so now let's make it go to our coincident. Let's make the end of B be coincident with C. There we go. And let's make the end of A be also coincident with C. Notice apparently our dots were not, endpoints were not locked in with our lines, but that's what it was wanting us to do. Concentric circles, we can come up to our concentric circles, choose our concentric circles, and choose our circle, choose a circle, choose a circle, choose a circle, and now we've got them all concentric, and notice it shows us they're concentric. Make lines collinear, so remember that was collinear, bring them together. Notice typically our second object that we click is the one that stays in place. We need to make these two horizontal, so we're going to come up to the horizontal tool, click both lines, and they're both horizontal. Make the lines vertical. These won't matter, they're all going to have to move because they're not already vertical. None of them are vertical. Okay. Make an equilateral triangle. So what would you have to do with that one? I'm going to let you think about that one a little bit. Figure out how you would do that. Make the circles the same size. I'm going to let you think about that one and work on that one. And then line up the centers of circles on the same horizontal plane. I'll let you think about these last three and work on these last three on your own.